Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric and a continuing series, Saturday Morning Cartoons, where I take a look at some of the best licensed video games based on cartoon properties that I used to watch on Saturday mornings. And I promised you in the Ducktales episode you'd be seeing both Disney and Capcom again, and I asked you to guess what game it was. It is Darkwing Duck, and another amazing Capcom game based on a cartoon. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support our crime fighting on this channel, there's a Patreon link down below as well. But Darkwing Duck is another spectacular licensed cartoon game from Capcom that also feels like a Megaman game, something I mentioned in the Ducktales episode. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll leave a link down below. But this, compared to Ducktales, I would say if Ducktales is 11 out of 10, this is a 9.5 out of 10. Now, Darkwing Duck as a cartoon, I think is as good as Ducktales. That's my opinion. Leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think. And I do love this game. It just doesn't have the same great soundtrack that Ducktales did, and that's probably my only complaint about the game. But unlike Uncle Scrooge with the pogo jumping, Darkwing Duck has the ability to grapple onto certain objects in the environment, and the traversal through the world feels completely different than Ducktales, but as good at the same time. This is probably a slower, more methodical game where you need to do stuff like hold on to these railings, or kind of like, I don't know what they are, ropes, even if they're standing up straight, and move around throughout the world. You constantly need to be thinking about what's coming next and how you're going to navigate Darkwing through that world. But this corner right here feels completely just ripped in a good way out of a Mega Man game. And it's got some great boss fights as well, and it even has different weapons that we'll talk about shortly, just like in Mega Man, that some are going to be more or less effective against the bosses. But I just love that in the first level, it's totally showing you the mechanic of how to hold on to objects, and this is the first level for me. But when you start the game, you get options to go to 3 different levels at the front, just like you do in Ducktales, where you can go to every single world available in the game. But now that we're past that first world, we'll move on to that menu screen and I'll talk about it. I love that it's a cityscape, and you'll see that we've already beaten that bridge. That's okay, but you get to choose your path throughout the game, and we just go straight into the next level. And graphically, this is an improvement over Ducktales because it is a few years later after Capcom had even more experience in developing for the NES, but it just looks so good. But rolling on these tires here, just like in Ducktales, just like in Mega Man, popping up to get that secondary weapon, any jumps you miss are because you didn't time them correctly or you didn't read an enemy's pattern. This game is never going to unfairly kill you. You are just going to make a mistake, and it does happen, and die because of it. But you'll see here, we pop out that arrow, and all of a sudden we take down those enemies in one hit. You just hit select to switch them out, unlike Mega Man where you have a menu. And there are multiple options for weapons you can pick up throughout the world and get a different feel for what's going on, and I do love that. This game allows you to pick your levels in the order in which you want to proceed. It lets you pick what weapons you want to use, and it kind of lets you just have the freedom to decide what to do, because you'll see there, I mistimed my jump, I didn't anticipate the enemy, and I ended up completely dead. Now if I go back again and jump just a little bit later and miss this banana peel, or else I guess I actually hit it, doesn't hurt you, you do get through this area. And that's the thing about Darkwing Duck. Just like in a Mega Man game, you need to constantly be thinking not about what you're doing, but about how what you're doing is going to affect the next 5 to 10 seconds, because if you're not considering things like that, you will die a lot in this game. It's just all about timing, and don't forget with the NES, if you walk off screen, sprites can and do refresh. But it's just so much fun, and Darkwing Duck was such a great game as well as a cartoon. It's so much fun to see this here. But it's so good that Capcom got the Disney license, because I don't think another developer could have done these games as much justice as I would have hoped for. But the soundtrack in Darkwing Duck is awesome as well, so go ahead and listen for like 35-45 seconds and I'll come back and tell you more about Darkwing Duck. But enjoy! I mean, it's definitely not as good as the Ducktales soundtrack, but honestly what would be? But it is still really good for what's here, and I'll let you listen to a little bit more in just a few minutes so you can hear the Darkwing Duck theme song played in 8-bit chiptunes. But I do love the boss fights in this game. They do kind of shadow some of the boss fights in Ducktales as well, if you watch that video. But trying to figure out the patterns is so much fun, because on the NES and even on the 16-bit era, pattern-based bosses were so important. And maybe you're going to die the first or second time you get to them, but once you understand the pattern and how to kind of navigate it, suddenly you'll feel almost invincible when you fight the bosses. But I will say, Darkwing Duck is a hard game, and it definitely is harder than Ducktales on the NES. This is Mega Man levels of hard, and after you get past like the third stage, the game just gets really difficult, and you're going to do stuff like get hit back and fall into a pit like you just saw. But the name of the game in Darkwing Duck is learning what's in front of you, and even in a situation like this, I love this sewer level where we have to pull on those handles to see what's ahead of us. If you don't know what's going to happen, you're going to run into an enemy. Sometimes like that you get a little bit of a hint there, but you'll see you can kind of take them out before you even get to the area in which you might see them, if you're paying attention when you hold on to those little handles there. I don't know why they turn the lights on. I'm not sure what's going on with the architecture in the world of Darkwing Duck, but that's just how it works in his universe, and we kind of have to abide by it. But it's a great gameplay mechanic that I love, and it kind of just slows you down. And that's the thing about Darkwing Duck, is it's not a very fast-paced game. You really need to navigate around the world and see what's up ahead of you and kind of see what the patterns are before you're going to walk through. But the platforming, maybe even better than Ducktales, and I love the pogo jump. But Darkwing Duck's ability to stand on and grapple different platforms you're going to see here by jumping and dropping down. You want to be a little bit careful because it did take a hit there. You can traverse this area and move on. It's slow, it's methodical, and it really makes you think what you need to be doing, and you need to read the screen up ahead, because if you don't, you're gonna die. And I feel like that was an unfair hit there, but I guess my hitbox was just close enough. But again, just like Ducktales, platforming is the name of the game. Your jumps have to be on point, or else you're going to fall into a pit and you're just going to completely die. But getting on to another boss as well, the boss encounters in this game are just so much fun, and again, just so pattern based. Once you understand how those bubbles come up and how to avoid them, it almost becomes a free boss, but you need to learn it first. And that's what I love about this era of games, is it really does force you to understand what's happening around you and kind of take into consideration what you need to do moving forward, because you only get 4 hits or else you will die. And I think this is a great version of Darkwing Duck as well. Now, there is a game for the TurboGrafx 16. Just pretend that doesn't exist. But listen to this amazing soundtrack for like 30 more seconds, and I'll come back and talk about the canceled model sequel for Darkwing Duck we never got. Enjoy. I do love a good 8-bit chiptune, but the fun and unfortunately disappointing part of this video is that there in 2019, there was a sequel pitched for Darkwing Duck from the Duck Knight Returns comic book creator, as well as the team behind Sonic Mania. They did a pitch for Capcom saying they wanted to make a sequel, and Capcom rejected it, and that just sucks, because getting a modern Darkwing Duck game would have been amazing, and maybe would have gotten more people into Darkwing Duck as a character, because compared to Ducktales that has a new series on Disney+, Darkwing Duck just doesn't get near as much acclaim. And I guess Disney just loved making cartoons based on ducks, because some of their best properties, some of my favorite cartoons from them as a kid, involved ducks. But I would have loved to see a sequel to this game. Unfortunately, maybe it'll come one day, but it's not today. But if you've never played Darkwing Duck before, I'm telling you, you're missing out, and you have to play it. I played it on the MiSTer FPGA, but I own an NES copy as well. It's just easier to play and capture on MiSTer. But leave me a comment down below. Did you watch Darkwing Duck back in the day as a kid? Have you ever played the game? And unfortunately, have you ever played the very bad TurboGrafx 16 version? Because I'd be curious to hear what you know about the franchise and what you played in it. But trust me, if you're looking for an 8-bit platformer that is challenging and as good as Mega Man or Ducktales, Darkwing Duck is here, and it's got you covered. Short of that, hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next Saturday. Bye bye.